Hey y'all, what's going on? Good evening. Welcome to my channel. I'm Real King, and this is it, y'all. Alright. Before we get started, a little disclaimer. This video is brought to y'all by Gen X Inc. That's what I'm saying. Anyways, let's get to this video. Little late video, of course. Had a busy day today, y'all. Very productive today. Got back a little late, and on top of that, I had to let my phone charge up because it was at 2%. So I don't know how I used up that much battery today on my phone, but I was very busy getting a lot of stuff done. And I don't know if I mentioned this in my last video, so I'll go ahead and tell it now. I got an interview tomorrow morning for this one job. It pays good. It's another warehouse job, but it's something that I'm aware. It's a place that I am familiar with, and I actually had been trying to get in at this particular location for a few years now. Not for a few years, but a few years ago, I had an opportunity, but for whatever reason, it didn't pan out. So one of the applications I put out on the just yesterday, matter of fact, they called me back, and I impressed them with my verbal, so they wanted me to come in for an interview tomorrow morning. So I'll be meeting with the supervisor of the warehouse, and it's part-time work. It's I think working 3 days a week, 8 hours, and it's pretty simple. It's working for the school district, and so it sounds pretty good. With 3 days on and 4 days off, you can't really beat that. And of course with my expenses, or the little expenses that I do have, I'm like, that's so ideal. That way I'll have my weekends off and then some. So I definitely I want to get that job. If it's meant for me, then I'll get it. But my job tomorrow is to sell myself, to basically just let them know, because they already told the recruiter already said that she was going to pass the information on to the supervisor, so that way he's already aware of everything. And so basically, I want to go there and put a face to this information, and then a little extra, you know what I'm saying? So, I'm just gonna be like, look, because they told me they only need one person, and I'm assuming that probably had been other people that had been interviewing. And so what I'm trying to do, what I plan to do, is just put everything out there. Like, look, because it's one thing to have the capabilities and the skill set and stuff like that to do these things and the qualifications. But if you have the qualifications, but maybe you're not a team player, or you're not easy to, you make a lot of mistakes, and stuff like that, then that's something that a company, might frown upon, as opposed to somebody who may not have as many skills and qualifications, but is very outgoing, is a team player, has good attendance record and stuff like that. Like those small things, that don't mind doing grunt work, those things really can, put you ahead. And, there's been some things that I have said to the recruiter that, that are they're significant, and so my confidence, I'm going to just get it, put it all out there, because you only get one try, one chance, to impress these people. And so I'm going to do what I need to do, show up and show out and stuff like that. So that's going to be early in the morning. I got that. So, I'm pretty excited about that. And the thing is, I'm gonna pray on this, and the thing is, if it's meant for me, I'll have it. Just because you see something, or I see something, or I think something of something, like I'm like, this seems like a good job for me. I only know what only the little that I do know, So, but the man upstairs, he knows everything. He knows even the stuff that I don't know. So, if it's meant for me, then I'll have that job. And so I'm just going to go in there with an open mind, and just and be optimistic. So anyways, that went well. And so today I had to take care of some things. I got out early in the morning, got to work to do and stuff. And it was raining, so the rain was a factor in some of my plans, but it actually worked all out. I was able to get stuff done, and utilize my time, wisely. And I wasn't actually, the rain didn't affect me or anything like that, so that was good. So had a pretty laid back day, and uh, and that's kind of about it. I did some things. I went to the park, and I was gonna do a video there, and again, I got kind of held back because of the weather. Like when I was done with my one appointment, I was gonna, the weather was cool at that time, and so I was gonna go to the park and do my video, and then it started raining again, and it came down even harder. So I just decided, okay, I just have to wait, because this rain, the forecast was saying it was supposed to be raining all day. It just kept fluctuating. So I just didn't bother with it and stuff like that. But everything was really good, very eventful. I tell you one thing, guys, after being so long without having my own wheels and then not having any wheels to get around and stuff like that, it feels good just to be on a bike and just to be able to go around and do things that I need to do. Because before I would, besides having to, choose the lifts or whatever, I couldn't do things, I remember there was a few years ago, there were some jobs available. I'm close by where I live. I'm kind of close by. I'm at the end of Houston, and I'm by like a couple other subdivisions, stuff like that. And so there's jobs that I can get to if I have transportation of some sort, and a good form of transportation. And I remember back a few years ago when I was talking to this one agent for this one job, they were like, if you had basically if I had a bike, I could have took this job. And I'm just like, so having at least some decent and legitimate form of transportation like a bike is very key. At the very minimum, that's what you should have. I don't really know about scooters, but at least a bike is very, very essential, I think. And so I just was around, I'm on my bike, and everything working well on it. The gears and the tires are nice and aired up. I'm just like, dang, so I can do everything, and it just feels so good to be independent and be able to, make these moves without having to depend on anybody else, and not have to shovel out dough for these lifts and stuff. And it's like, even when it rains, you should know how to prepare for that, so I got rain gear and all, so I'm prepared and everything. And so it's crazy because where this job is at, it's not far from me, but how Houston is and how the public transportation works, you kind of have to go these completely out of the way routes just to get to, from point A. You can't just go from point A to point B. You got to go to point A, and it's more like point G, because all these other areas that you got to go to just to get to point, to your destination. And it's like, dang. And so putting that in perspective, it's like, okay, well, yeah, it's good to have a bike, but you still got to be, for the most part, depending on where this place, your job is at. Like this place is off the freeway, so in order to get there, I got to get on. There's like 2 freeways and stuff. So, so yeah. Anyways, so but the good thing is, I have avoided having to take 3 buses, because I'm like, yo, I can just ride my bike to meet up with the second bus, you know what I mean? And then boom. So I worked everything out with Metro, so I have my route to get there tomorrow, and I'm pretty excited. I don't have to get up any earlier than I normally do, so that's a good thing. But yeah, so I'm making moves, guys. I'm doing things. I'm being productive, and I'm being optimistic. So I'm showing you guys how to move, how to work this, and everything like that. How to be confident, and so yeah. Just being optimistic and everything, and Like I was talking to my auntie earlier. I'm like, look, I said, you know, just because, not every job is for you. And if something happens that this does not turn out to be a good job for me, or it's not going to work out, they choose somebody else or whatever, I have other ones, so it's not putting all your eggs in one basket. You always have to keep, because nothing's guaranteed until you are hired on and accepted. You still need to be, going through other avenues and, other, applying for other places. So, all my options are still open, and I'm still doing what I need to do. And so, but yeah, so other than that, great day. And I'm very excited, y'all. Tomorrow's going to be a big day. Tomorrow, there was something I needed to do to go along with tomorrow. What's tomorrow? Tomorrow's my payday. And so there was something I needed to do today to kind of help with that. And I did all my figurings yesterday, like I said I was going to do. And great news. So basically, I can get the bike that I want to get, because I will have plenty of money left over after that. And I'm just like, perfect. And so it should be next week when I order my gimbal that I need for my YouTube. Because I was doing something at the park today. I'm like, dang. I said, if only I had a gimbal in this hand, I can be doing my videos, because also the gimbal has a tripod on it, which is even better. So I'm like, man, this is a big deal. So I'm very excited about tomorrow, because tomorrow basically lets me know for certain, in a sense, the things that I'll be able to purchase and stuff like that. So the Most High made He provided for me today. He breathed life into me, woke me up this morning. I had plenty of sleep last night. I got a lot of sleep, so I went to bed early to prepare for today. I had to get mentally cleared. And I was kind of worried this morning when I got up. I wasn't feeling too well. I was feeling kind of weird. I don't know. And kind of sluggish, even though I got, a lot of sleep. I was like yawning a lot. My heart was beating. It seemed like it was beating like really fast, like abnormally fast, like almost as if I was maybe had anxiety to some degree. So that would have affected me in what I needed to do. And so I was a little worried. And so it was crazy, because I think I was worried more than I should have been, because nothing was wrong, and everything like that. I went and got a checkup, and so I had to get seen by by another doctor, because they noticed a drastic weight drop in my weight. And so like I'm like at 159 is what I weighed myself yesterday. I might have gained a little bit of weight, but I know with my clothes on, they said I weighed 163. And so because of the massive drop in my weight, they, wanted to double check, make sure everything was cool. And I'm like, look, I said, this is actually my normal weight. The thing is, the past 2 years I've been working in, fast food. And so I haven't been as active. 1, 2, eating all that, messy food. So since I stopped working at those places, not eating that messy food, and I'm doing a lot of work, so I'm getting that workout. So I'm back basically at my normal weight and stuff like that, So, and of course, I just been cutting out a lot of unnecessary eating. I've been drinking more water and cutting back a lot on, just as the amount of food I eat and when I eat. I'm eating 3 times a day. I'm making sure I'm not eating late. Like I was at one point. I used to eat kind of late, like 9, 10. Well, now I'm eating around 7 o'clock. So that's helping out a lot, because your body is still actively burning calories up until I think around 9 or 10. And then that's when it slows down a lot. So, so all of these things I've been doing to help myself. And so, I'm normally, a thin guy, I don't have a lot of weight on me, and people in my family aren't that way either, especially the guys in my family. So, I'm a pretty slim guy normally, but I'm at 49, almost 50. I'm about the same weight as I was when I was a teenager. You know, to kind of put that in perspective. So I don't really gain a lot of weight. And if I want to, I can still eat you out of a house and a home. But I know at my age now that ain't fly one, and it's not really healthy. And so I'm being more conscious about my health and stuff as I get older. And so, you know, everything was good. My vitals and everything were good. My blood pressure, everything, temperature was good. So I'm like, you know, it's good to know that, you know, that I'm doing the right things, you know, to stay in good condition health wise and stuff like that. So, and I started feeling better after everything and stuff like that. It may have been because I didn't eat when I got up. That was on accident. I drank some water though, but I just didn't eat anything, so that could have contributed to, you know, to my not my blood pressure, but my heart being so my heart rate being so high. But after all that, I got me an energy drink, and then I ate something. Had a pretty light eating day today. I didn't eat much heavy stuff, you know. And so, but it was enough. But yeah, so like I said, it was a good day, you know, dodging the rain, and you know, I was talking with some people and stuff like that. We had a pretty good Gen X type talk, you know. We were talking about just, you know, how things were in the 90s and stuff like that, you know, how things were, you know, much better, you know. And you know, I like getting into those conversations with people, you know, around my age and stuff like that, because we understand the huge change in in our opinion, for the worse things are now, you know. And it's so significant, you know. And we were talking about like little small stuff, you know, just about like, you know, how, well, when, you know, back in the day, you know, yeah, we used to fight. There used to be gangs and stuff like that. You know, even, you know, people get, you know, shootouts and stuff. But it was different back then. What was so different about it back then, Real King? Well, the thing that was majorly different was there was a sense of respect, okay, and honor. You didn't just do stuff. People didn't just do stuff. You know, you had your people that randomly did stuff, but for the most part, people weren't just carelessly doing dirt, you know, and that's what's going on now. You know, back then, this is like, there was a sense of thinking before you speak, to, you know, to some degree, or thinking before you act, you know, because people, you know, they understood, you know, going to jail, going to prison. That's not a place that nobody wants to be at. You know what I'm saying? And you know, so that stuff, you know, so people would think twice, you know, before they did stuff. You know what I'm saying? And really, the violence was only kind of around certain times. You know, it was like summertime and stuff like that. But even at that, there was still some order. There was still a good amount of order in the hood, to where it didn't get too out of hand all the time, you know. And like, you know, but and then the other major thing is, people fought more. People weren't just quick to pull out that iron and blades and stuff. People were fighting, you know. And it's like, this generation now is it's a young generation. Like, this is the youngest generation. Like, they don't, these people nowadays, they're kids. Like, this generation is it Generation Z? I don't know what generation it is. I think it's Z, the one after millennials. So it's the late millennials and the Gen Z, who, they ain't even trying to live long. I think their life expectancy is like in the 20s. They ain't even getting to 30s. You know, you see all these so-called rappers and all this and that, and they in jail in the teens, in the early 20s. They committing triple and double homicides and death penalty, you know, case murders, and they're in their teens. The people that are getting killed, these so-called rappers that are rapping all this BS. They in their teens, in their early 20s, rapping all this tough guy talk. And you see all these deaths of rappers and every year. And we didn't have that in the 90s growing up. You know what I'm saying? You had the Tupac and Biggie deal, and that was basically about it. You had beefs, and you did have certain beefs even before that. The Scott LaRocks, and a few other, the Big L's. Who else? You know, so you had, I think there's some LA gang rappers that got caught up in stuff, you know, but it was sparse. It wasn't like an everyday thing and all the time. It was kind of like here and there, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, but like nowadays, you know, and it was a little different back then. It was a little different to some degree. Like nowadays, you got people, you know, all over social media, and they tattling, and they snitching, and they doing, you know, kind of conniving things, and it's just crazy, you know. But at the end of the day, everybody's getting killed, and if they're not getting killed, they're getting put in the pen. So you got these penitentiaries that are just flooded with Gen Zs, with just knuckleheads that can't fight, but instead they pulling out guns as if they tough. The guns is what's making these people think they're tough. Anybody can have a gun. Kids can have, any little kids can shoot guns. Just because you have a gun doesn't make you bad. Now, I'm not saying that all these people just can't fight, but I am saying, why kill somebody when you know you're gonna be put away? Money can only go so far. If you're not that known, that money ain't finna work. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, we were just chopping it up about some stuff, just real talk, you know, talking spirituality and you know, some regular stuff, you know. And the thing is, I speak on what I know. I don't like getting into conversations. I don't get myself into conversations that I have no say so, that I don't have nothing. I can't validly chime in and, you know, add some value to. So there were some points up in there, and I felt I can, you know, kind of, you know, slide in and offer some good advice or some good information. And it was like three of us that were all kind of around the same age and stuff like that, that we're just kind of like, just kind of chopping it up on some just, you know, some old time stuff and everything like that. But, you know, just some good conversation and stuff like that, you know. And so it was good that I was able to do that, you know what I'm saying? So like I said, overall it was a really good day. Every day that I am blessed to be here, you know what I'm saying, I try to do something that's good. I try to better myself, my situation in life. I try to learn from the past, from my mistakes. I try to learn from whatever I didn't do yesterday that I could have done better. I have an opportunity today to do better, and so that's all I try to do. So whatever it might be, if it's something that I forgot to do that I wanted to do, like fun wise, so like y'all know I've been on some journeys and stuff like that. Now it's only hard as you make it. And so what I know I needed to do was save money. I need to save this money because I need to make a big purchase. And so what that meant is I had to figure out, where do I normally spend a lot of money? Can I tweak that a little bit to where I'm doing less spending and still get a good result? And when I figured that out, I'm just like, dang. So this whole week, I made sure that I put the majority of my money into my savings, and I kept a small amount out. And that's because I figured, if I have everything that I need, that I would normally spend money on, then that means I won't be spending money. So for the most part, that did work. Now, like I said, for the most part it worked. And so I still have a little bit more in my checking, but then I had my little side hustle come through that kind of just added to that. So I'm back where I need to be. So As of right now, I'm exactly where I need to be with a little more over. So with what I make tomorrow, whatever that check is going to be, I'm basically going to have way more than I need. So tomorrow, I think I already showed y'all the bike. So I'm going to order the bike, and you guys are going to be with me when I do that, so you guys can see it. And it's going to come in 5 days. It's 2 to 5 business days is the time frame, and so I think Monday will be counting as one, and then so basically it should be here next Thursday. That would be the 5th business day. So I am excited about that. It's gonna be, and then when I get the bike, I will do the video because I'll show you guys me putting it together and stuff like that, which will be fun because I've never put a bike together brand new. I mean, I've done some fixings and doing things as kids and stuff like that, but that was eons ago and I don't even remember anything. So this is gonna be a completely new thing because I'm gonna be putting everything together, including lubing the, I'm gonna have to grease certain parts and lube certain parts of the bike as well, which is something I did not do with my my current bike. And it's crazy because you really need to do it because only a few days it's been in a little bit of rain, and that bike has got rust spots all over it, and it's like, dang. And I mean, it's not heavily, but like the kickstand spot, it's got some rust there. Around the handlebars, like there's some scratches and it's got some rust. The crank, there's like a spot around the crank that's got some a little bit of rust. It's not messy, but and if I was keeping that, then yeah, I'd obviously be right on that. But I'm not worried about it. So, but yeah, so anyways, y'all. So I'm really excited. Excuse me, about that. So my direct deposit comes in and around like 3:30 in the afternoon. So I will be very excited to get that. And then, I'm gonna probably, I might order that like ASAP. I might order it just immediately. So that's something I'm very much looking forward to. Now, I wanted to get more stuff on the bike. Like I definitely want to get new tires, colored tires. And then I want to get some pegs for the bike, and that's not expensive. And then a chain, what's it called? Chain tensor. I don't know if that's the right word, but those are 2 things that I definitely want to get, or 3 things I want to get. And those are all customizable things, stuff like that. And they're not expensive, but I'll get that later. And that's just because I want to customize my bike, kind of have it, stand out a little bit, make it more personable. And then I already thought about this. Okay, I'm getting a nice bike. It's going to be expensive, and I'm going to be adding more parts to it that's going to add to the value of that. I don't want that bike to get stolen, especially being that my other cheap bike almost got stolen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get insurance on that bike. So tonight I'm going to look up, some insurances. I'm going to maybe call a place up and stuff like that. And then I'm just going to insure my bike. So I'm not going to worry about it getting stolen, and because if it does, then I'll file a claim and then I'll get another bike. So, but anyways, it's just me being, kind of, securing my purchase and stuff like that, which, again, if you get this is a high-end item that I'm going to be getting. And so I feel that it's only necessary for me to do that. I want to show you, I'm gonna take some videos of me being on my bike and, doing stuff and everything like that. So you guys are gonna be able to see some cool stuff, and I can't wait. Especially with the weather's gonna be nice, that's just gonna be making my videos even better. So I'm excited to get to for tomorrow, as you guys probably can tell. So anyways, guys, that's all I have for now. And again, I pray. I hope you guys enjoyed my video. If you guys did like my video, enjoyed it, why don't you go ahead and hit that like button, hit the notification button, so that way you guys are informed on my videos when I'm dropping them. And also, if you guys haven't subscribed to my video, if this is your first time checking out my channel, why don't you guys subscribe to my channel, because I have a lot of cool content that I'm gonna be bringing you guys' way. And you guys are, I'm sure, gonna definitely want to check that out. if you guys have any comments, anything that you guys want to see on this channel, want me to, put in my videos or whatever, feel free to leave the comments down there, and I'll make sure I read them and consider them for my future videos. And with that being said, guys, I'm Real King, and this is it, y'all. All right, y'all be good.